Welcome everyone to Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter and today I'm going to be talking about Yellowjackets Season 1 episodes 8, 9 and 10. They are called Flight of the Bumblebee, Doomcoming and Sick Transit Gloria Mundi, respectively. So yeah, this is my final video for Season 1 of Yellowjackets. I did the first two batches of episodes and obviously there's a lot of crazy stuff in this back three. I don't think I had a lot to say about episode 8 specifically outside of the opening and closing of the episode. Not that it's bad by any means. Obviously it advanced things and set up some stuff for the next couple, but there's a couple of moments in these last three episodes that made me laugh, and one of which is intentional and was like one of the best belly laughs I've had in a long time, you know, in anything. And the fact that this isn't really a comedy and it made me laugh so hard is very impressive. The thing that I'm not sure was supposed to make me laugh, although it's probably just my dark sense of humor, is the end of episode 8. And actually the start of episode 8 as well in some ways. So the end of episode 8 is the plane, right? It's this the religious girl taking off in the plane trying to look for help. And we've been hearing these rumblings that maybe something is working against them or doesn't want them to leave, and you know, something supernatural or whatever that wants whatever. So when the girl takes off in the plane and it's going all well, and it's just, you know, it's very you know, it's very much, if I'm compare it to Lost again, it's the raft leaving at the end of season 1. But then her teddy bear just bursts into flames, it just spontaneously combusts, and I actually started laughing because I thought it was hilarious. And not because I thought it was stupid, not because you know, I thought it was a bad moment, but just because it was such a like on the nose way for whatever force is trying to not let them leave and wants to keep them contained. It was just a very on the nose way of doing it, where it's her own teddy bear that combusts. It's not something else in the plane that breaks down, or is this the teddy bear? That made me laugh. I also got a little bit of dark humor at the start of the episode, because remember I said, so Van, whose name I didn't remember, I have now learned it since she survived, but she seemed dead at the end of episode 7, and to the point where they also thought she was dead and started burning her body, and then she started moving, and one of them yells out, "She's alive!" and they have to like get her off, and I just thought this was very much like a Job Bluth, I've made a huge mistake kind of like collective moment, I thought, for the group. I don't think either of these moments were necessarily meant to be funny, but I've just got a dark sense of humor. But none of them were bad in any way. And you know, Van's near-death experience, of course, is important for her being kind of a believer in things going forward. So it does have a purpose and all that. Yeah, the thing in episode 9 that made me howl with laughter. So this is an intentional joke, and I thought it was generally funny. Again, much like I just said, Job Bluth, I've made a huge mistake. Is so the revelation that Jeff's not actually having an affair. He was into trouble with something that he didn't want to tell her about, but it was just a loan shark thing, and the woman he met at the hotel was just the scary mob lady he was paying back or whatever, right? This was all vaguely funny because Shauna has went through all this stuff and even killed a man at this point, and is finding out that this has all been, you know, like, this has all not been true. It's nothing's what she thought it was, and she's done all of, like, it's went to the, not only did she have an affair and cheat on her husband thinking he was having an affair, and to be fair, they made it look like he was. They really did. Even the daughter thought he was having an affair. So like, it's not like she was a complete idiot, but it's still a big whoopsie, you know. But she ended up killing the man thinking that it was the one blackmailing her, right? So that was all funny. But the line that made me lose it at the end of the scene, which is an intentional joke, and it properly made me laugh, is when she said, "Did you really think I was going to book club all this time?" And the way Jeff yells out, "There's no book club," broke me. I thought it was hilarious. It was an intentionally belly laughing moment that I was not prepared for this. Like, Jeff, you know, he had those signs with the dinner, you know, with Jackie's parents, where it seemed like, oh, maybe he's not such a bad guy, like, you know, like maybe he's made some mistakes, but and then of course we find out that he's not actually cheating on her and all that. So it does actually feel like he actually is a pretty solid enough husband, despite the fact that he was trying to blackmail her friends, you know, and all that stuff. But obviously, like, none of this seems to have anything to do with Travis's death, right? Natalie obviously thinks they're connected, but this kind of made it feel like, nah, like, I don't see Jeff and Randy being behind the Travis death. And I think, you know, the end of the finale kind of, you know, makes it clear that it's not. What I would say is that what's weird actually is the reveal that Jeff was the one doing the blackmail, I actually thought it was him first. Yeah, when Shauna finds the glitter in the closet, I actually, my first thought was, oh, it's Jeff. Yeah, this makes sense. You know, he's up to something. You know, this is like him betraying her. It narratively seemed the most interesting. And then she immediately started thinking about Adam, and we got the quick flashback to him being in the closet, you know, in the previous episode. And I thought, oh, okay, oh, fair enough, okay, that makes some sense. I've been speculating that he's not who he's supposed to be the whole time. And to be fair, the show swerved me. Like, they made me not trust them. But funny enough, it turned out to actually be Jeff that was the blackmailer, and I thought, oh, okay, all right, okay. I kind of like caught into that, maybe an accident, and then you convinced me otherwise. It was one of those things though where the more extreme it got, and the more, you know, she confronts him at the start of I think it's the start of episode 9, she actually confronts him and ends up stabbing him. The more it went on, and especially when she stabbed him, it was the moment I was convinced it wasn't him and that he was completely innocent. It's just that, it's that like double bluff thing with like TV writing sometimes, where this is like too far. The only outcome now that's narratively interesting is that it wasn't him, and she's just stabbed an innocent man, and we have to deal with that now. So, you know, we have this having to clear up this murder effectively, which brings in Misty, which seems like a big risk, you know, from all things considered. Yeah, all of that modern present day stuff with the murder cleanup was good. The way it intercut with stuff in the flashbacks was good as well. But you know, you've got this this stuff bubbling up here where the daughter knew about Adam, and I don't think Jeff knows about that. But what's funny is that Shauna and Jeff seem to be in a relatively good place by the end of the last episode. To the point where the daughter's kind of weirded out by how nice they're being, and then obviously it comes on TV that they're looking for this missing guy Adam, and she knows who that is to some extent. So everyone's just kind of being hush hush and, you know, being awkward about it. I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses in terms of the daughter like looking into this or questioning things. But I have to say, the most I have ever enjoyed Shauna and Jeff's relationship stuff was after the coming clean, right? Once they were working together and he knows what she's doing and openly talks about the fact that he doesn't really know exactly, well, he does now, but like he didn't know before. Like, she never told him what happened in the crash, but he has since read the journals, and you know, so there's a scene where she's like, you knew this whole time, like you've known for years, and he's like, well, yeah, you never told me. And I thought that was actually probably the most interesting their dynamic together has ever been, and I really enjoyed obviously the hilarity of the actual confessions and stuff. It was the most I enjoyed their stuff. It was almost like, by trying to like present it as a typical like someone's cheating on their spouse plot and the other one's like investigating it, which isn't necessarily that exciting because it's, you know, overdone. Almost like trying to present it for that so we could have all these swerves inherently made it a little less interesting. But now that it's kind of unfolded, and it's like, oh, now it's actually the relationship, now that he actually knows what all the secrets are, at least, and we know part of that is cannibalism, right? We you know, we've known that since episode 1. Misty and the investigative lady also kind of brought that up because she was telling her stuff. So we know to some extent, but he knows a lot of it now. He knows maybe everything from those journals. Whatever she wrote about, he knows. So that dynamic's actually far more interesting now that he's kind of in on it and is helping her cover things up. It makes me far more excited about their dynamic going into season 2. It really does. Natalie almost kills herself. You know, it's like she's saying goodbye. She's accepted that Travis's death was probably a suicide. Although I will say that I was never convinced. I was still pretty sure that those symbols, you know, the candle markings making the symbol meant something. I just didn't think it was related to the blackmailer. And sure enough, some cult members show up and kidnap her. They're wearing the symbol. It sounds like Lottie is, you know, because this is the thing, by the time we get to the final episode in the flashbacks, it's kind of clear that Lottie's becoming the leader, or the one sort of spearheading this weird stuff, right? This sort of ritualistic cult-like behavior, worshipping something, and all the rest of it. It feels like she's the one who's kind of at the head of it. And Misty seems to be in on it. I incorrectly said that Misty was probably leader back in episode 1. I think I misread the scene where we saw her take off the mask. But Lottie seemingly might still exist, but it doesn't... What's weird is, though, the way they talk about it, and just from seeing like the others talk about their classmates and the reunion and all that in the final episode, it doesn't seem like Lottie comes back with the other survivors. It's the impression I got from this finale is that Lottie did survive but didn't come back. Is that she existed still as this cult leader, and maybe that cult has, obviously clearly made it to society and is infiltrated and is doing things, but she didn't come back in a rescue, or whoever that is the rest of the characters came back. She's kind of like stayed out there, which does present the possibility that other characters like Van, who we've not seen in present day, we don't know if she survives in any way. Maybe she's still part of this cult too. Maybe she's still out there. So that was the interesting stuff from the end of the Natalie plot. Thaisa, similarly, like, she seems to have made a sacrifice, which is a nice, contrast to her flashback stuff, because in the flashback she's the one who doesn't really believe in any of this shit, and Van has a fairly healthy conversation with her where she's saying, you're going to make fun of me for believing some of this stuff, that I had this near-death experience. And Thaisa's this very, logical person. She's saying you're in shock, you're trying to make sense of these things, whatever it may be. But this idea that in the present day that she made this like pact with something, she offered the dog's head. Now, not necessarily her regular self. We talked in the last video about how she might like have this other personality when she's sleepwalking. Like, this might effectively be a second version of herself that's taken over. So it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. But maybe her Hyde, if that's how this is working, made the sacrifice of the dog, and the symbols there over the altar. Like, is the other version of Thaisa still working with Lottie? Is she still in contact with her? I don't know. But these are interesting questions, and certainly it's like, she was so convinced she was going to lose that it became kind of, again, that TV thing where it became kind of clear she's probably going to win now, and she did, and she's surprised, but it's this dark twist to it where she's made a pact with something, or a version of her has made a pact with something, and that's pretty exciting and interesting, going forward. And I think what was neat about this is that all of the main four in the final episode kind of got something a little extra going into season 2. The new dynamic with Shauna and Jeff, the Natalie being kidnapped by the cult, so she's going to be in a really new, exciting plot line that is opening up the scope of what we're doing, what we've been teasing. Thaisa's other half, or maybe even the dark twist here is that it's not her other half. Maybe it is just her that's done this. So she's kind of caved and made this choice to try and win the election this way. That's interesting too. And then, of course, Misty maybe is the least different, but she clearly drugs the investigator lady. The whole time where it was like, oh, she's talking Misty into letting her go so she can, do the book deals and all that other stuff. It all kind of felt a little bit like, Misty's up to something, It's kind of how I feel like when I'm watching Better Call Saul a little bit, when I realize Saul's like doing a scheme, like he's doing a con job and he's tricking people. I was kind of getting that vibe from it, but yeah, she passes out. I'm not sure what the end goal is here. She passes out in her car, because I was thinking she was hoping she'd pass out in the car and get like in a crash or something. She just kind of pulls over though, so I'm not really sure the end goal there. I will say though, Misty's method of disposing the key parts of the dead body were inspired. The idea of just sneaking the head and the hands into like a coffin that's been about to go and be cremated at an actual funeral. That's obviously, a sanctioned body disposal. That's what a funeral is. That's what a cremation is. It's a sanctioned body disposal. So you just sneak your unsanctioned body parts into the coffin, and lo and behold, you've got a stew going. Right? Makes sense. So we have to talk about the forest stuff, right? The 1996 stuff. I've been kind of like staying away from it up until now, because that's the big thing of these last couple of episodes is the Doomcoming and what it leads to. Which is that, is this kind of like makeshift like little party they have because they have some grapes that went bad or something, and it felt a little bit like of a weird push for some of the characters to be like, yeah, we should have this party thing to try and make ourselves feel better. But at the same time, even though it's right after a death, like at this point they've been there for a few months, Sean is starting to show. It all just feels a little bit like they just need something. They need something to kind of like enjoy or feel like a little bit like normal people again. So the big thing here is that Misty continuously trying to get coached to fall for, wants to drug him again. But her mushrooms end up going into the stew, which she's not intending. But the fact that she was wanting to drug him is also kind of dark and sinister. Like how far was she going to like go if he was impaired with shrooms? But this all happens, and it's all going fine and dandy until they start tripping. But it's not just that though. That's the thing about this, is that it's clearly more than that. There's something else at play here, because a bunch of them turn into, you know, psychopaths, you know, primal, the way they kind of want Travis. At first it's seemingly in some sort of an orgy, but then it kind of turns into like try to kill him, presumably to eat him. You know, Shauna's got the knife to his neck. Like the way it all kind of progresses, and it's because at first like Jackie's been really vindictive the way she kind of wants him. She's doing a lot of things out of spite, so she's kind of like the unlikable one to a point. But then she's like standing there watching as they all start groping Travis, and it's like, oh, she's the only one who didn't eat the shrooms, so she's actually kind of like, you know, comprehending the weirdness of what's happening. But the way they all start acting is very, very, you know, animalistic, I suppose is the best way of saying it. And they do this thing, you know, where there's a lot of like shallow depth of field shots in the camera when this stuff all starts going down. But yeah, a bunch of them start acting like this, and maybe the ones who act like this are the ones who are more susceptible to whatever influence is happening, whether it be a supernatural presence, you know, a tree demon, as I think Taisa maybe calls it in the final episode. But it is a very extreme kind of jump as to what was going on before, and I was very curious getting into the final episode, like how they were going to react the next day to this. And they're all very quiet and awkward, but it kind of like there's these little moments of like Shauna, because you know, there's a bear who stumbles onto the place, and it just further convinces a couple of them that Lottie does have these premonitions, because she said they wouldn't be hungry for very long. At the end of the episode 9, I thought it was going to be Travis who was going to mean they're not hungry for very long. Not that obviously I knew he wasn't going to get eaten, because he survives until later, until, you know, the present day portion of the show where he kills himself, or doesn't. But more just that's what she meant when she said that they were going to like sacrifice someone and eat them. But this bear shows up, she stabs the bear in the head, and you know, a couple of them, you know, the final shot of the episode is Misty and Van behind her, like kneeling down with her as she's like offering a heart to this like, tree. It's interesting to see how they're going to progress this and how it goes, and what the demeanor is going to be like in these 1996 sections of the show now in season 2. Like when we go back to this, like, is there like factions of people who are less weird, who are like trying to like survive from the others? You know, like Shauna was clearly getting overcome with these urges to, you know, she almost licks the bear's blood at one point. She was the one with the knife to Travis's neck. But then at the same time, you know, like the other big ending of this episode is that it seems like Jackie has died. Jackie freezes to death because it snows outside after they have their big fight, and she, you know, goes out. Which is, you know, it's a really bitter kind of end. Part of me thought she wasn't going to be out there, and there was going to be some mystery as to sort of where she went for a while. Because she has that weird moment where she, you know, because I wasn't sure if this might be Shauna's dream, but it feels like it's from Jackie's perspective, where Jackie thinks Shauna's inviting her back inside, and then everyone's there waiting for her, and they're all saying they love her. And I knew something was off because, you know, Travis and Natalie were off looking for his little brother because he's been missing for the day. So yeah, things may not be looking so good for him currently. But you know, then there's this guy there, you know, this other guy who I don't recognize. I don't think we've seen him. He's not the guy who's missing his eyes. At least if he is, he's got a very different appearance here because he's not got the long hair. And he says he's been waiting for them, and it does kind of feel like she's going into the, I don't know, the dark spirits of the forest or something. Like, you know, this is like the, if he's a demon or if he's a group of demons or something, then this is them welcoming her as she's dying, effectively. That's kind of how I read the scene in the moment. But there's a lot of room here to expand upon this and sort of like get to what's really happening if there is more to it. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, obviously, part of me thought Jackie was going to be a main character in the flashback stuff for the whole show. But at the same time, I'm not surprised that someone did get killed off at the end of the first season to kind of raise the stakes and raise kind of what happened. I wonder if they make this choice to eat her because she's died anyway, kind of thing, and this is like an opportunity. They've just had Bear, so they're not like as starving right now. But then you've got the people who are starting to go. Because the funny thing about Lottie is, I thought Lottie was very sympathetic when we were getting her backstory about her premonitions and how her parents were treating her. But it does kind of feel like she's becoming something awful, or maybe it's just a case of, it's not that Lottie's inherently bad or going bad herself. It's that her ability has let this thing in, and she was just more susceptible to like the influence, and that's why she's kind of becoming this cult leader figure. A lot of interesting ideas at play. I will say that like there was a lot more things kind of like coming together here in the last couple of episodes that really, you know, some character dynamics were just a little bit better. Some of the mysteries they're setting up are, and they're answering enough, you know, tidbits to it, and they're teasing enough of what's going on that, you know, we're getting kind of a scope of it now, of the idea that Lottie leads this group down this, and you know, maybe it's not the whole group that become this call in the past. Like I say, like I'm kind of expecting like a two group kind of situation. I'm worried about Coach. I think he's very vulnerable with only having the one leg. He can't really run away if the people decide to eat him. So we'll see how that goes. But interesting to see where they go with that. Obviously the whole thing with with Travis and Jackie, you know, I mean, I kind of brushed over it. It was kind of maybe more interesting from the perspective of neither one really cared about the other one. It was more just about Jackie feeling this need to lash out and do something because she knows what Shauna did, and then, but perhaps more interesting was sort of Natalie's reaction and kind of their embrace of each other, her and Travis in the final episode where he says he loves her. It's kind of, you know, I'm kind of starting to buy into the young versions of these characters and like how they care about each other. And I think it's important, especially if like half of the characters are going to start acting kind of evil. And inherently, I'm not going to care about some of the evil characters because they're going to be acting out of character. They're going to be acting kind of possessed, is a thing. And that's the other thing. Like, is it just them, or is it there's something going into them? Is there these like demons or ghosts or whatever it may be that's becoming a part of them? But certainly this horror and like the idea of tributes, and you know, because there's that whole scene where like they say grace effectively for the bear showing up, and Jackie doesn't want to do it, which kind of starts all the fight off. But the idea of saying grace that kind of escalates at the end of the episode to just offering a heart to this tree stump with a symbol on it. And yeah, so I am fascinated to see where a lot of this stuff goes, and I'm excited that I'll be able to cover season 2 when it comes out week to week. That'll be cool. It'll be, you know, it's a different experience from doing it this way, where I'm sort of watching a few episodes over a couple of days and then giving my thoughts on the batch of them. Because inherently, I don't talk about every single scene or moment when I do it this way. You know, it's. I think the show did steadily, just gradually increase in quality the more it went along for the season. And I think some of that is, you know, the natural growing pains of a new TV show and finding your voice, finding your pace, finding everything that, you know, kind of becomes what the TV show really feels like. I think part of it is also just a few maybe odd choices, understandable but odd in the sense that, well, maybe odd's not the right word, just understandable but incorrect choices about how to set up some of the early plots, just in the sense that it made it hard to kind of buy into the characters right away. You know, the example I had earlier was Jeff and Shauna's marriage troubles just feeling really generic. And I get why, because they wanted to have it swerve into and be like, you know, for us to be surprised when it goes the way it does. And in theory, that makes this new status quo more exciting, and it does, but it just wasn't that interesting to start with. So, but now, because it has actually kind of hit some of these beats that it was inevitably going to get to, inherently things are just more exciting. So, yeah, like more of the plots just are far more interesting having gone through the plot of season 1. This does feel like a show, and maybe, you know, I'll regret saying this and I will say that it didn't, but this does feel like a show that will be better in season 2. And that's not to say that, you know, I'm making more caveats for season 1, but it does feel like this was a lot of groundwork being set up, where now we really get to the meat of like how the characters are with each other. And no pun intended, by the way, when I said meat. I'm not trying to make cannibal puns or anything. In fact, I actually got worried when Shauna at the end said maybe we should get a cat. I was like, oh no, I don't want you with an animal. honestly, Sean, I don't trust you. You've got that thirst, that bloodlust. I'm not having it. So very curious to see how a lot of this stuff, shakes up or shakes out, or shapes out, whatever. In season 2, I thought they did a good job with like having them all the reunion. It was just a kind of whatever plot device, but it did give them a chance to all kind of be together, kind of in unison after all this went down. I was actually half expecting a surprise where like someone we didn't know had survived and came back was going to show up at the reunion. Obviously there's that the one who got her leg broke and didn't go on the plane. Like she's kind of insufferable a little bit. I was kind of half expecting someone that we didn't know came back to show up, or I was kind of thinking that maybe Misty was going to like reveal some of their secrets or something, like go up, like because we hadn't seen her. It wasn't until after this we saw her go back to the house and with her captive her victim, but we hadn't seen I think any of that in the final episode until after the reunion stuff. And I thought maybe like they were kind of like holding it until like, oh, they've planned a big like reveal of like, like she's going to go up and like, admit they'd eaten some of the others or something like that. I thought that maybe like I was really worried about what Misty had up her sleeve. And I think what's interesting about Misty as a character device, as a character, but also as a character. The character as a device is what I'm trying to say, to create a lot of tension. Because she is this genuine wild card who's always out for herself, and she's proven kind of repeatedly that she's willing to do very heinous things for what she wants. And she wants attention, she wants to be valued amongst the others. And, I do worry that there'll be a time where she turns on the rest. Or maybe the heartwarming story of this is that adult Misty will eventually be accepted by the others, and she'll come to actually do like something right at some point, not just because she wants the admiration for it or she wants to be accepted. I do get a chuckle though out of when like she's like talking to her co-workers and like they're just rolling their eyes after she leaves or something because she's insufferable. Because she is, like, as a person to actually meet, like, I would hate Misty. But as this character who drives natural tension and drama between others in a TV show, she works quite well. So that's good. Yeah. And I never really believed that we were going to lose Natalie in the finale. Adult Natalie, that is. Part of me thought, okay, maybe Juliette Lewis is a one-season thing, and this is going to be the tragic ending that maybe spurns something else on. But it felt like, no, she's almost going to do this thinking that Travis killed himself, and instead, what happens. So, lots of exciting stuff to look forward to in season 2. So, yeah, I had a good time. It was an easy watch. I think being able to watch it in batches, I don't want to say made it for better, because I do prefer weekly shows. Like, I do prefer weekly and talking about each episode and doing that kind of thing. But I think not having to overly discuss every episode and getting to kind of get like bigger portions of it for the sake of catching up, I think did help the experience a little bit. And I'm glad I did catch up. It's another show to look out for when it comes back, which is great. And so by all means, let me know what you think of the finale and the season as of a whole, and your theories and stuff in the comments. It's a Showtime show, so I expect it will probably come back a similar time that season 1 aired, which was at the end of the year. I think it ended in January, which does technically mean if I do a top shows of the year that this is technically eligible, and it will be, I suppose, if it comes back as well and has some of its season 2 this year. But so yeah, we'll see. So let me know what you thought of the show. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff all helps us out, as of course does hitting the super thanks button below the video. And of course you can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us on a monthly basis and help keep all the content coming. Any and all support is obviously appreciated. And yeah, thank you for joining me, and hopefully you enjoyed the show as well and enjoyed my scattershot thoughts, as they ever are. So thank you once again. I will see you guys soon. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?